There's a luxurious residential building in New York City called the Tower, and its top-floor unit is owned by Wall Street tycoon Arthur. After an evening swim in the rooftop pool, he continues his online chess match with Josh, the building's manager. In the morning, Josh is heading to work when he encounters Slide, who berates him for walking on his side of the street. Josh pays him no mind, which only infuriates Slide further. The Tower, Josh and doorman Lester escort Arthur to his vehicle, and Arthur mentions that he likes them so much that he may bring them to work for the hotel he's planning to launch. Afterward, General Manager Simon tells Josh that Charlie hasn't shown up at the front desk and had better appear within 3 minutes. Josh then spots Lonko studying for her bar exam and asks her to save it for her break, but Lavenko pretends she's not doing any such thing. Without warning, Josh hears a buzzing sound and snaps, prompting Enrique to apologize for leaving his phone on vibrate. Simon explains that Enrique is their newly hired elevator operator, so Josh walks him through all the rules. They're prohibited from accepting tips and must give the residents their undivided attention around the clock, meaning no phones permitted. Josh then notices that his brother-in-law Charlie has turned up 20 minutes behind schedule. Charlie is beside himself because his wife is in her 3rd trimester of pregnancy, yet he isn't particularly worried about losing his position. He proves his worth by impressing an Asian resident with flowers and conversing in Chinese. Josh then heads over to see Fitzu to remind him that he needs to vacate, as he's been evicted and the bank is coming the following day. Fitzu shares that he's lost his job and no one is willing to assist him. Josh agrees to stall for him by telling the bank to reschedule, claiming the elevator is under repair. After their shift ends, Lester informs Josh that this will be his final year at the Tower, as he's planning to retire. The next morning, Josh is on his way to work and witnesses Slide quarreling with a woman on the street, creating quite a commotion. At the Tower, Josh notices that Arthur's car is still out front, meaning he hasn't departed at his usual hour. He also spots a black sedan that's been sitting across the street for 2 days without receiving any parking tickets. Lester says he's called the police twice about it. Just then, several men step out of that vehicle, leading Josh and Lester to suspect they're burglars. Lester locks the front entrance while Josh rushes inside, announcing a code black on all doors. He then checks the security footage, but can no longer locate the men on camera. Laundry van has appeared at the back entrance, which is odd since their pickup was the day before. His assistant clarifies that Arthur requested it because he'd spilled wine. Without warning, the suspicious men force Arthur into the van, and Josh realizes a kidnapping is unfolding. Instructs the guard to dial 911 before sprinting after the van as it crashes through the shutter to escape. Josh takes off running after the vehicle through the streets, only to be suddenly tackled to the ground by Agent Claire. At that same moment, the van crashes and a swarm of FBI agents surrounds it to apprehend Arthur. Josh attempts to defend him, insisting he's the victim, but Claire clarifies that it wasn't a kidnapping. Arthur had been trying to flee because he was aware he was wanted. Shortly after, reporters across every media outlet announce that Arthur has been arrested for fraud, and all his assets have been frozen. Josh assembles all the Tower's staff to inform them that since Arthur sat on the board, Josh had asked him to oversee their pension funds, meaning the money is most likely gone. The following day, Arthur is released on a $10 million bail but must remain confined to his home. Claire informs Josh that the penthouse floor is now under FBI jurisdiction and details all the new regulations. In the middle of the apartment, Claire is stunned to find a car inside. Arthur explains it's a Ferrari once owned by legendary actor Steve McQueen, which he purchased for $1 million but wouldn't part with for anything under 10. It had been disassembled after the sale and then put back together inside the penthouse. Arthur asks Josh to take care of his meal and attempts to tip him, but Josh reminds him of the no-tips policy. When Josh heads home, he witnesses Slide being taken into custody. Slide urges him to film everything on his phone because the officers are mistreating him, but Josh ignores him once again. Meanwhile, Lester is at the subway station and edges toward the platform with dark thoughts weighing on him. Shortly after, Josh is jolted awake by an urgent call from Charlie. Josh rushes to the hospital and discovers that Lester had attempted to end his life, but an officer pulled him back at the last second. Lester reveals that he had entrusted all his savings to Arthur for investment purposes and now has nothing to retire on. So Josh vows that Arthur will return every cent. Afterward, Josh goes back to the Tower and finds Fitzu in the elevator. He's been formally evicted and his wife has taken the children following their divorce. Since Fritz works in finance, Josh asks him when Arthur might have realized his business was collapsing. Fitzu says it was likely around a year back and that Arthur had taken Lester's funds just to keep up a facade. When they arrive at the penthouse, the FBI agents refuse to let them through, but Charlie claims they're there to collect Arthur's trash and breakfast order. Josh finally drops his composed demeanor and confronts Arthur directly about what he's done. Yet Arthur continues feigning innocence and insists the FBI is fabricating everything. An enraged Josh seizes a golf club and begins smashing the car, shattering every window and light while shouting at Arthur about his deceptions. Later, Simon fires Josh, along with Charlie and Enrique for going along with it. Josh says his final farewells to all the staff before attempting to speak with Charlie, who believes Josh always wanted to get rid of him. Josh confirms this and tells Charlie he was always terrible at the job, pointing out that he addressed a Korean woman in Chinese. Charlie refuses to hear it and walks away. At a bar, Josh meets with Claire and hands her an extensive amount of information about Arthur, including his travel itinerary. However, the FBI already possesses all of it, and Claire explains that the bank will most likely seize all of Arthur's holdings, leaving the employees with virtually no chance of recovering their money. A dejected Josh prepares to leave, but Claire invites him to stay for a drink. They end up getting drunk together, and Claire mentions that white-collar criminals like Arthur typically stash emergency funds somewhere concealed in case they're ever caught. The FBI had noticed that $20 million disappeared from Arthur's account several months prior, and she wonders about its whereabouts. This sparks an idea for Josh. Following day, Josh returns to the tower, and a security guard attempts to block him, but Josh says he merely forgot something and reminds the man he has leverage over him. In his office, Josh retrieves his notebook and reviews some notes he had jotted down about a safe. After stopping at a shop to examine that particular safe model, he goes in search of Enrique, Charlie, and Fitzu to hold a private meeting. Josh's apartment, he tells his friends that Arthur had purchased a safe for his unit some years ago. He later renovated the space and tore down every wall but one, so the safe must be concealed behind it, which explains why the FBI never located it. Josh believes the missing $20 million is sitting inside that safe and wants to take it, but he needs their assistance. Enrique and Fritz are on board, but Charlie hesitates and notes that none of them have any experience with theft. Josh responds that he has a solution. Moments later in jail, Sly is caught off guard to find that someone has posted his bail. Upon walking out, he discovers Josh waiting for him. Josh offers him a ride and attempts casual conversation. An annoyed Sly then presses on the gas and demands to know why Josh helped him after ignoring him for so long. Josh is forced to swerve around other cars and run red lights before finally managing to bring the vehicle to a stop. Then reveals that he and Slide once attended the same daycare as children. It takes Slide a few moments to recall this, and when he does, he teases Josh about his childhood seizures. Their back and forth doesn't let up until Josh lays out his plan. At the mall, they meet up with Josh's friends, but Slide is unimpressed, dismissing the three of them as useless for a heist. Josh tries to vouch for them, so Slide challenges them to prove it by giving them 15 minutes to lift something from the stores. Each of them heads to a separate shop and acts as if they're interested in buying something, keeping the staff occupied until they can conceal an item on their person. They bring everything to Slide, who is genuinely impressed and agrees to join the crew. He also reveals he's already picked their wallets clean. Some time later, the group convenes on a rooftop. Snow is falling, yet Slide refuses to let the others put on jackets. He tells them that during a job, circumstances shift fast, so they need to be prepared for anything. He hands out bobby pins and instructs them to practice picking the lock on the door. Next, Josh tells the group they'll need a strategy to bypass the security cameras, the doormen, the guards, and the rest of the building staff. Group heads to a restaurant near the tower to observe the patrol patterns of the guards and police in the vicinity. Fitzu is anxious about not being able to cover the bill, but Slide has smuggled in a roach to get the meal. Now armed with more intelligence, Josh assembles the plan and lays it out using a Lego model. Slide will hold the money for a week after the job to avoid drawing suspicion, since he's the only one with no ties to the tower, but Enrique doubts whether Slide can be trusted. Slide takes offense and draws a gun on him, forcing Josh to step in and remind him that the job has a strict no-guns rule. Just then, Claire and two officers show up at Josh's door. The others panic and duck out of sight while Josh answers. Claire informs him that the judge is set to dismiss the case at next week's hearing and that Arthur plans to press charges against Josh over the Ferrari. However, Arthur will drop everything if Josh comes and apologizes. Minutes later, Josh is standing in the penthouse offering his apology to Arthur. Arthur accepts and smugly speaks in chess metaphors, implying he's come out on top. Afterward, Claire drives Josh home and surprises him with footage of him trashing the car, which she illegally obtained to protect him. Josh asks her out for Saturday, and Claire says yes. When Josh gets back inside, the others reprimand him for pursuing an FBI agent right when they're planning a heist. Slide also tells him he has no idea how to crack Arthur's high-tech safe, so they'll need a specialist. Josh reaches out to Odessa, a housekeeper who works at the tower. Her father was a locksmith, so she has some knowledge of the craft. They show her the safe, and she confirms she can get it open, though it will take around 15 minutes. Slide is intrigued, so Odessa teaches him the technique. The following day, Josh and Fitzu keep watch on the tower a bit longer and notice Charlie heading inside. Josh waits for him to emerge and confronts him, and Charlie reveals that Simon has offered him the building manager role. Refuses to assist his friends any further and warns Josh to abandon the heist or he'll go to the police. Meanwhile, Claire is summoned to the penthouse and informed that the court date has been pushed to Thanksgiving. Arthur has also resolved to press charges against Josh following the hearing. On her way out, Claire phones Josh and warns him that he'll be in handcuffs by the weekend. Josh is actually pleased because this was precisely what he had planned. On the big day, the streets are shut down for the parade and Lester is back on the job. Claire and the agents escort Arthur out for his court appearance, and Odessa alerts Josh the instant they've gone. Meanwhile, Enrique tracks down Charlie's wife in the subway and lifts her phone from her bag, delivering it to Josh. The group grows uneasy because Slide hasn't appeared, but just then Josh spots him dressed in a suit and heading into the tower. Figures out that Sly had asked Odessa to show him how to crack the safe so he could pocket the money himself. Even so, Josh wants to press on with the plan. Using his sister's phone, Josh texts Charlie claiming that the baby is coming. So Charlie immediately vacates the tower. The security guards stumble upon a Playboy magazine featuring photos of one of their residents, so they become fixated on it. Dessa pretends it's a coworker's birthday and brings a cake to the lobby, so everyone gathers around to sing. When the rest of the staff spills outside to watch balloons float by, Josh, Enrique, and Fritz slip in without difficulty. In the meantime, Slide poses as a bank representative and convinces Simon to let him into Fitzu's former apartment. Josh's team attempts to reach the elevator while Odessa keeps the staff occupied, but Simon and Slide get there first. Trio is left with no choice but to use the stairwell. In Fitzu's old unit, Slide requests a walkthrough, and the moment Simon steps into the closet, Slide locks him inside. He also switches on the radio so no one will hear Simon's cries. While Slide takes the elevator, Odessa laces a slice of cake with a sedative and makes her way to the penthouse. She offers the slice to the FBI guard, who declines because he has a chocolate allergy. Dessa improvises by ramming the man with her housekeeping cart and knocking him out. Eventually, the trio reaches the machine room and cuts the elevator's power. Slide slips away by crawling out through the ceiling hatch and begins hauling himself up the shaft. Josh's team climbs the stairs to the penthouse and retrieves the necessary items from Odessa's cart. Once their masks are on, they enter the unit and cover all the cameras with adhesive stickers. Then they tap along the wall until they find a hollow section and break through it with hammers, uncovering the safe. At that moment, Slide appears and levels his gun at them, but Josh refuses to budge. Dessa steps out from behind Slide with a weapon of her own and forces him to drop it, and Fitzu scoops it up. While Odessa gets to work on the safe, Charlie returns to the tower and grows suspicious of the fake message from his wife. He pulls up the security cameras and spots the unconscious FBI guard, assuming the man has dozed off. At the courthouse, Claire and Arthur discover that the building is empty because it's a public holiday, meaning someone forged the court documents. They attempt to head back to the tower, but all the surrounding streets are blocked off. At the penthouse, Odessa finally cracks the safe open, only to find it completely bare. Slide tries to reclaim his gun, and during the scuffle it discharges accidentally, striking the car. Josh moves in for a closer look at the bullet hole and notices something unusual. Using a crowbar, he chips away more of the paint and confirms that the entire car is constructed from gold. Sue runs the numbers and determines the vehicle is worth $4 million. Josh decides they're taking it and formulates a new plan. Enrique races to the rooftop and lowers the maintenance crane. Josh and Slide remove the window glass from the penthouse and push the car toward the opening. After the crane is secured to the vehicle, Enrique operates it to haul the car out and gradually lowers it several floors down to Fitzu's former apartment. Fitzu, however, is paralyzed with fear and can't bring himself to reach out and grab it. Josh and Slide want to go help, but at that moment the guard regains consciousness and starts banging on the locked door. They opt to rappel down the crane rope instead. When Fitzu finally steadies his nerves, he grips some rope for safety. Then he leans out the window and stretches toward the car. Unfortunately, a fierce gust of wind swings the car and drags Fitzu out with it, so now he's dangling in midair. Reaches for the rope repeatedly, but after several attempts, he loses his grip and plummets. Fortunately, Charlie catches him just in time and hauls him back through the window. Josh and Slide finally reach the car, which is swaying precariously. Charlie and Fritz grip the hook together and manage to attach it to the vehicle. They begin pulling simultaneously as Enrique releases the crane, so the car successfully swings into the apartment. Arlie then gives Josh an earful for derailing his life, but agrees to pitch in once he learns about the gold. The group puzzles over how to get the car into the elevator. However, Charlie has a better idea. Enrique fires up the elevator and halts it directly below the penthouse floor. When Josh searches the car for the keys, he discovers a notebook filled with the particulars of Arthur's unlawful dealings. Just then, a resident emerges from her unit asking for help with her dog. Charlie takes the animal, so she'll head back inside. While Claire's driver finally locates an alternate route back to the tower, the crew shoves the car on top of the elevator, which abruptly begins descending. The dog leaps and Josh dives to catch it. Enrique warns the group that security has manually overridden his controls. Down in the lobby, Arthur and the agents step into the elevator, which now starts climbing again. Claire picks up the sound of a dog barking but doesn't think much of it. There's a metal grill at the top of the shaft, and the car collides with it, but mercifully the elevator halts right at that point. After Arthur and the agent disembark, Josh contacts Lester and tells him to grab Slide's stolen truck and reverse it up to the elevator. Up in the penthouse, Claire discovers the exposed safe and notes that Arthur never disclosed it, which constitutes a parole violation, placing him back in custody. Then she orders her team to seal the building. When the agents review the security footage, they spot Lester with the truck and realize the employees have made off with the Ferrari. The garage shutter has come down, but Lester accelerates straight through it. The FBI gives chase, scattering the parade crowd in all directions to avoid being run over. Lester pushes the truck to its limit and swings onto the first open street he finds, only to discover it sealed off by a police blockade. The FBI flings open the truck and finds it empty, leading Claire to realize it was all a diversion. Lester claims he has no idea what she's talking about. He only stole the truck to try to take his own life again. Before long, the FBI tracks down and detains each team member as they go about their normal daily routines. Claire slaps handcuffs on Josh, who assures her the dinner reservation is genuine. Inside the police transport, Arthur demands to know where his car is and threatens the group with lengthy prison sentences. Josh shows no fear and reveals that he has the notebook. When Arthur offers to buy it, Enrique reminds him they don't accept tips. Meanwhile, Simon is still hollering from inside the closet. At FBI headquarters, Claire attempts to question Josh, but is interrupted by Loveco, who announces she has passed the bar and will represent the entire crew as their attorney. Presents the agents with the notebook and agrees to hand it over in exchange for the team's release. The agents consent to freeing everyone except Josh, who as a first-time offender will serve just 2 years. Josh accepts the deal, ensuring his friends walk free. Shortly after, every major outlet confirms that fresh evidence has proven Arthur's guilt beyond doubt. The team returns to the tower and reveals they had concealed the car in the rooftop pool. While Arthur is carted off to prison, Charlie is at the hospital welcoming his newborn child. Sometime later, all the tower's employees receive a package containing a piece of gold taken from the car. Behind bars, Josh smiles knowing he came out on top. And with this, the movie comes to an end. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, leave a comment, share it, and subscribe to Anik Alvin Recaps. Stay with us. I invite you to watch the next video. I'm signing off now.